pleased to have you here to talk about tree power. And I think we should just launch because people will come as they find us. It is Good Friday, and a lot of people have sent me, I'm getting ready for company. I don't know how I can do this all in one day. So there is that. It is Easter weekend, with all that entails for folks. And but I think that trees are an important part of that idea of Easter, and the whole idea of rebirth and regeneration. And you've been a big part of that. Those of you who are here will notice that Eliza is not here. She sent me an email at 6:30 last night saying that she was going to be gone today. So we are uh, here with Tree Power, and I'm glad I invited all of you to come because my communication with Eliza has been less than desirable, I guess is the best way to put that. She's a busy young lady, I guess, in trying to be the environmental reporter for the Herald. Okay, Kelli, is it Sheri that's going to who is our non-visual person?
Well,
Yes.
I'll kick it off and then I'll hand it off to Sherry. I'm going to share my screen so we'll have another wonderful test of our technological aptitude this morning. So give me 1 second. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Excellent. So, first of all, thank you so much for having us this morning. I've had a few opportunities in my career to present with the League of Women Voters, so it's always an honor and a privilege. And just completely by coincidence, you have three women voters from the PUD this morning to join you. So really appreciate having you. And with me as well is Sheri Miller, who's the program manager for Tree Power, which we'll get to shortly. And then we also have Shelley Pattison, who is our strategic programs manager. We all have long titles at the PUD, so Shelley, forgive me if I didn't get all the words to that. So I wanted to quickly just share a few things about your PUD. We are very proud to be a public utility, and we serve power and water since 1936. We are 97% carbon free with goals to have that be 100%, I believe, by 2035. It's something we're really proud of that we are 97% carbon free currently. We are the second largest public utility in Washington state, serving 880,000 people and 35,000 businesses. And we have 1,100 employees, about around that at the PUD, and it's very important to us that all of our employees feel welcome and valued. It's one of our real core principles. So this is just a map of our service territory. It includes all of Snohomish County and Camino Island, which is 2,200 square miles. So you can probably imagine how much coverage we have to have during those storms, how many miles of lines we have to maintain. Our folks are out there, trimming trees on those lines throughout the year to make sure that we are doing our very best to avoid power outages during those winter storms. These are our 5 strategic priorities that we are currently focused on in our strategic plan. It's bolstering our operational reliability and resiliency, which means making sure that we are getting you the power you need when you need it. It's enhancing and evolving our customer experience. So that's things like your My Snowpod portal, or you probably are all aware or hopefully aware that we now have outage texting capability so that we can communicate with you via text if you lose power, and often we're able to let you know how long that outage might last during those winter storms. It's actively helping our communities thrive, and we do this through engaging with opportunities like this where we can share information about the PUD, as well as next Saturday on April 26th, we have our big energy block party where the community is invited down. You can learn about how to make your home more energy efficient and access all the incentives for that, how to do solar, batteries, other types of renewables, and then it's just a lot of fun. So a lot of great opportunities for kids, EV car show. It's a really great event, so we hope you all can make it to that. Another one of our priorities is building a sustainable future. Like I mentioned, we're 97% carbon free now, but the Tree Power program is one element of all the work that we do to make sure that we are sustainable. And then lastly is making sure that we have the workforce in place to deliver all these things, right? So uh, technology is changing rapidly. We have, AI is coming into the fray, and we just need to make sure that we have at good, that folks are trained to be able to do those jobs and to serve you going into the future. Okay, so that was just my brief part, just a little general about the PUD. After Sheri presents, I'm happy to answer any questions with Sheri. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to you, Sheri, and I'll just let me know when you need me to move the slides forward.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Good morning, everyone. It's so great to be here and be able to talk trees with you. It's one of my favorite topics, especially lately. And Kelly, I'm glad your camera is working and you can run the PowerPoint for us. So thank you for that. So going back to the beginning of how this program started, we actually received a grant to launch this program. And the grant, we applied to APPA, which is the American Public Power Association. And it's a national organization of public utilities. And within them, they have a department or division called DEED. And DEED is the Demonstration of Energy and Efficiency Developments. And DEED is always, they just do grants. That's their main focus and education. But they always are looking for what they consider unique, out of the box ideas that they haven't seen done before. And so we developed this application based on House Bill 1114, which encourages utilities to help mitigate the heat island effect, and specifically regarding urban forestry. And what I find very unique about DEED is that they are looking for ideas that any utility can pick up out of their quote library and develop on their own. And so basically when I'm finished with the deliverables, there'll be a whole toolkit of program development tools that is there available for any utility to just take all that. We've saved them the work and they can just develop a program that fits their utility and their customer base. So we received $75,000 from APPA DEED in April 2 years ago, 2023. And the title of the grant is Community Tree Planting to Mitigate Air Conditioning Loads and Engage Customers. And the purpose is, like I mentioned, to mitigate the heat island effect in Snohomish County and reduce our AC loads, our air conditioning loads by funding tree canopy projects. And this is a concern for the utility that our air conditioning load keeps growing in the summer. These summers become warmer and more people need air conditioning, and it's just going to keep increasing. So the whole idea of this program is it's like if you're outside and it's a hot sunny day and you're standing in the sun, and then you notice a tree and you stand under the tree for the shade and it cools by 15 or so degrees. And that's what these trees do for all the hardscapes in our counties So it can cool buildings, it can cool pavement, and we are getting more and more of that as time goes on. So there is a need for this concept, and DEED agreed. Okay, next slide, please, Kelly. The program has two components, which is unique for programs, and one of them is the tree project funding, and the other one is the customer donation fund. And the tree project funding, it's a competitive project funding program. And this basically is where any government, quasi-government, or nonprofit can apply with their own urban forestry project for funding. And then we can evaluate those applications and we can prioritize. Are they income qualified or low income communities? Are these projects in a grid constrained area? How does equity factor into it? And of course, is it addressing the heat island effect? And we launched this portion of the program last year, April 2024. And then just last November, we launched the customer donation component. And this is where customers can voluntarily donate to support these tree projects. And their funding goes directly into the trees, into the projects. And so they can essentially, I'll show you shortly, they can go on the website and select any amount from $5 up to any even a custom, they can pick their own amount. And this can be a one-time donation or monthly, and it can stop and start pretty easily. So it's very new part of the program, and we're building it and talking about it and growing, literally growing it, and it will develop over time. Okay, next slide. Okay, our website, that was a big first step. Well, first of all, to come up with the program name and the logo. And we came up with the name Tree Power, and TREE stands for the acronym Tree Relief for Energy Efficiency. And then the department Kelly's in, one of the other designers over there, designed this beautiful logo for us, and it depicts the evergreen and deciduous trees cooling a building from the hot sun. And so on the website, I'll shortly give you a tour, but the funding applications are there. We list the recipients of our funding projects. The customer donation portal is there, information and FAQs. There's a suggested tree list, and you can see a little snapshot of a corner of it here. And if you're thinking of planting a tree in your yard, I would encourage you to check out this list. When I started this process, I reached out to our vegetation department to see if I could work with one of our arborists, if they could help in developing this program. And we always learn so much with our many departments as we embark on new projects. And I learned that we have 12 arborists at the PUD, which is a lot for a utility our size. And so I was assigned an arborist, and I immediately asked him if he could develop a tree list of trees that he recommends for our county. And so he did. He has a section of small trees, medium, large, and I think most importantly, he has a section of trees that he doesn't recommend and what their problems are, so why he doesn't recommend them. And this list gives a lot of interesting, like, botanical names, how fast it grows, dimensions, so you can get a really good idea about the tree's performances before they're planted. And then we have a heat map. I'll show you a little bit about that shortly as well. And then other resources. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, here you can see our homepage for the website. And at the center, below the logo, is just a little description of the program. And below that, you see Urban Forestry Project Funding. That is where anyone that wants to apply for funding can go. And there's a portal that goes into the application, tips, template for the budget. There's many bits of information in there. And then below that we don't see is the customer donation portal. And then anyone can go in there and select their amount, one-time, monthly donations, whatever works for them. On the right, you'll see the 2024 grant recipients, excuse me, and we've listed who received the awards last year and what the status of their projects are. And I'll touch on that again a little bit more. And then a list of our resources. Okay, next slide, please. Hey, here's our heat map. This was a huge importance for us as we got into the evaluation project for these forestry projects. And this heat map has My guess is that a lot of you know about heat maps and because you're savvy about trees, but this has 5 different layers in the heat map. It has the median surface temperature, which is our heat island effect, the tree canopy, so we can basically turn on and off these layers and see how much tree canopy is in an area of an application. The income metric, if we're trying to really support our low income communities, the social vulnerability index, and impervious surface. And then in that colorful picture you see of the heat map, where Kelly's cursor is up on the top right, there's a couple little buttons there when you go on the website, and that's where you would go and click into to see the layers of the heat map. And you can turn on and off. You could put all the layers on, you could put one layer on. And there's also a little search box. You can put the address in to pinpoint one specific spot. Okay, next slide, please. These are our applicants that we received applications from last year and that we awarded. And they're all cities. There was 4 cities. So the city of Arlington, and their project was a Centennial Trail tree planting. And they've actually completed their project, which is amazing to me. We announced our awards at the end of August last year, and by 2 months later in October, they were fully planted. The timing worked out beautifully. The city of Everett has Walter E. Hall parking lot median tree replacements, and they are preparing their site currently, and they expect to plant in the fall. And the city of Mukilteo submitted Japanese Gulch, and their planting is targeted for by the end of this month. And they have 2 different locations in the gulch that they're planting trees. To me, the most spectacular one is by the community gardens when you enter, and there will be 20 giant sequoias right in that area. So anyone entering the gulch will either walk through that grove or by that grove to get in. And then the city of Marysville submitted the 3rd Street tree planting, and these are rain gardens in the middle of intersections. And we got to the point of awarding them, and then they decided to withdraw their application. It's sensitive to have a rain garden with trees growing in it, and they realized they needed to work on their infrastructure for that before they could successfully plant their trees. So they plan to resubmit their application, and I'm expecting to see it this round, 2025. Okay, next slide, please. Here is our first project in the ground, which is very exciting, and this is the City of Arlington Centennial Trail tree planting. It's near the police station, and it's I think it's between 4th and 5th, or I forget what those streets are, but it's just between two streets. And what's interesting with Arlington, with the Centennial Trail, they have a lot of artwork on the Centennial Trail. So it's a very fun trail to walk on. And in fact, the picture in the left has a metal tree, and that's part of the artwork. And it just seems so perfect to me that here our first urban forestry project has artwork to celebrate trees that went in the ground. So when we get our projects, I will evaluate first and just confirm it's one of our customers and go through some pre-review. And then I turn it over to our arborist, and he will check and make sure that the selection of trees is right tree in right place, and of course the location. So when we received Arlington's application, he quickly saw that what they were proposing for their location of the trees would inhibit us from being able to access the power lines to work on them. And so he quickly drove out there, and they had a conversation, and they were able to just shift the locations of the trees. And it's all the same trees, same amount, but yet now it's enough to access the power lines. And so it was a win-win. And this is a great part of this program, is that we can have those conversations and really set these trees up for success. So if you're in Arlington, these pictures were taken in the fall right after they planted, so there's no leaves yet on the trees. But we'll go back at the end of May and take pictures when they've started leafing out. And eventually these trees will canopy over the path. So they'll create a lot of shade, and you can see with all the buildings, it's going to help the heat island in this area. Okay, next slide, Kelly. All right, so looking ahead to 2025, our application window for applications for this year is open. We opened 2 days ago on April 10th, and I'm sorry, 8 days ago, time flies, and it will go through June 10th. So we have a 2-month window for applications. And we are looking for all different projects, of course, but we have a special interest this year, and hopefully we will see some libraries. And that's because libraries are becoming cooling centers for us now with our summers getting so warm and not everybody has air conditioning. And then also we'd love to see schools. Schools have many buildings, a lot of parking lots, and of course the funding would really help them out. Our evaluation process goes from June through August, with our awards being announced at the end of August. And then this year we'll see the completion of the City of Everett and the City of Mukilteel's plantings. Okay, and I think that might be our last slide. Is that right, Kelly? Or is there? Yep. So that's it. I don't know if we can have questions at this point, or
I think it would be great to have questions. And
okay.
yeah, I commend Snow PUD for undertaking this. I mean, this is the battle between wires and trees
Mhm.
is
Yes.
an ongoing saga. I really felt the city of Arlington when you were discussing that, because it is a
Yeah.
hard one to pick out the right tree so that it doesn't end up getting topped or cut down.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah.
And I have to really say thank you to Shelley for that, because when we first, this whole thing started with needing, making a decision to apply for a grant, but we didn't know what the topic would be. And so the inspiration was the House Bill 1114, which just encourages urban forestry development. And Shelley's been very supportive the whole way through of this project, which just, I love that, because we have such a unique program, and the fact that what we're building out can be used by other utilities across the country is very exciting. So our work will be multiplied by how many other utilities pick up our tools and develop their own programs.
I noticed that you're looking to put trees into schools and libraries, which is commendable for sure. Is that because they have oftentimes more land around them? Because a lot of our heat islands seem to be in places where I'm not sure where you would put a tree, kind of thing.
Mhm. You could put trees to shade buildings, or you can put trees in the middle of parking lots, because you think of all the hardscape and the pavement, it's just collecting that heat. And with many buildings and parking lots at schools, that, there's a lot of, they could shade the edge of the parking lot throughout. You see, like, I think at Alderwood Mall, they have trees in the parking lot to help shade it. And then, or bringing up trees near the building.
So Sheri, has the PUD reached out to the school districts to let them know?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
okay, of
and
course.
I'm happy for any of you to spread the word too. We sent out about over 400 emails to government, quasi-government, and nonprofits. And I reached out to our key accounts team for their contacts for schools and libraries especially. And so I added those to the list, and those went out as part of the 400.
Lael, you have your hand up. Did you want to unmute and ask your question here?
Yeah, thank you so much. I just want to learn so much more about this topic. Thank you for your presentation. I wanted to ask you about, did you say that it was the Urban Forestry HB 1114? I haven't tracked all those bills. Did that one pass?
Yes, it
Is that
did.
passing? Okay.
It's
And
passed a
also,
few years ago.
okay.
Yeah.
So good. Okay. And then I hear now that the Transit-Oriented Development Bill is also passing,
Mm.
and which we support in many ways. But what do you find, if you have time, or if you can address, like, how do you deal with the kind of conundrum of wanting to get more tree canopy while at the same time trying to develop more housing density and lot splitting and building ADUs and tearing out single family residences for high capacity housing? I mean, I know that's an ongoing problem, and I just wonder if you could point to where those conversations are happening, trying to rectify, both
Yeah.
those two, building more housing and more development, but while it's at the same time trying to preserve tree canopy. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
and yes, it's a great question. And that's the whole reason for this program. There's so much construction, buildings, clear cutting to do that. And so having the tree list for, even though this program services, essentially government and nonprofit, still having the tree list, getting customers involved is part of the conversation. And they can look at the list and find the right tree for the right place. And that's why we have small trees, medium and large. So those trees can be sized for the specific locations. And I don't, like right now we're focusing on government and nonprofits, and who knows how the program will grow. I'd love to see it go for decades. And with, the customer donations, customers can visit trees in these projects that they've helped get going. And so we require that any project that comes through that we fund has public access. It's not a courtyard in the center of a building that nobody can get to. So that is a huge piece. But I don't know, as time goes on, if we expand who we can open applications to. We're still a young program. Our pilot was last year. This is our first year. And it's hard to keep up with the pace of, what you mentioned, but at least this is what we can do, and we'll just see how it grows in the future, basically.
Sheri, we're at the risk of being political here, with a lot of the federal money drying up for climate mitigation projects. Do you feel like this might be something that will impact this program?
No, we don't have any federal funds coming into this program. So this program is funded by the PUD and our grant. And our grant is the American Public Power Association, which is not part of the federal government. And so it will just continue to be funded by the PUD and the customer donations.
Excuse me. So I'm really interested in your outreach. Here in my homeowners association, we actually have green belts that were designed in the 70s, prior to the great influx of population. And we actually have swaths of trees around, not huge woods, but places where they left trees behind houses and so forth. And the only problem we have is right at the entryway where we have the electrical wires are the main ones that they're carrying the loads into the development overhead. And we've had to take out a number of our really big trees in that process and replace them with smaller varieties. The PUD was willing to replace them, which was very generous of them, but they were not willing to replace like with like. We had to have that list in front of us.
Yes.
And make sure it stayed below a certain ceiling in order to be paid for. by the
Mhm.
PUD, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's generous to know that they are willing to replace them, and just I keep wondering, why don't they just put those wires underground, because they have problems every year when the storms
Mm.
rage. It doesn't matter if where it can be a person's tree in their yard or something blowing in the wind. Those wires get
Mhm.
Joan, I'm not sure if you intended that as a question, but this is I love to talk about how we make choices around undergrounding, because it's a common question that comes up for folks, right? We live in this beautiful treed area. People are like, why don't we put more wires underground? And so there are a few factors involved in that. One is cost. Um, the cost of undergrounding a wire as opposed to putting it above ground can be up to 10 times or more expensive. So there's one project I'm thinking of recently where it's a $10 million project that can become, $100 million project. So as we're doing the equation of reliability plus affordability, because we want to make sure it's very important that our power remains affordable to our customers, we're keeping that in mind. Also, I think that folks often because we're not, I'm not a lineman, but it can be very difficult to do repairs underground. And that was something that was very interesting when I learned about. It can involve tearing up entire areas. It makes the outage prolonged for customers. And so that's a factor that we're considering too, is doing, underground repairs. And I also think that often what folks sometimes the underground means you're taking trees out to be able to put those wires in, right? So and that can be uh, un, an unintended consequence that people often aren't considering. So yes, we do undergrounding, but we take all those factors into consideration when we make those decisions, and so that's why you probably don't see as much undergrounding as you might think that that we would want to do. So
Mhm.
Thanks, Kelly. I kind of figured it was a cost factor, but I just, the 10 times, of course, it's pretty impressive.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
but it seems like the annual repair that goes on
Mhm.
is also a cost factor too. And they're constant. I can imagine repairing underground, but I see them up there repairing overhead, and that to me is just as precarious. I'm always amazed at these um, workers out there in these storm conditions trying to make sure that we have power, and to me it's
Yeah.
pretty impressive. Julie has her hand up, so she's going to jump in here.
Yes, I was wondering if when the schools or libraries are planning their tree projects, does the arborist work with them in advance in order to place them on the right side of the building, like the south or west side, with
Mhm.
deciduous trees, so that they get shaded in the summer, but it's more open to the sun in the winter?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And he does. There's a lot of applicants like the cities, they typically have their own landscape architects or parks department staff that's knowledgeable about trees, but schools wouldn't have that. So he's happy to talk with anybody that's applying. They can rough out what they're thinking, come to him. We would rather have that communication open and offer that support than having the wrong tree put in the wrong place and then having to undo the work. So, and that's where the list comes into. It's a good start, so they can look up the types of trees. What do we like? Where do we want it? And then get some additional guidance from him. And also with our block at our block party coming up that Kelly mentioned, the vegetation booth will be there and the arborist will be in the booth. So if anyone has questions about trees or wants to get more information, they can just go visit the booth and directly talk with an arborist, and our arborist Jeremiah on this program will be one of the arborists there. And they're giving away free trees, I think 1 per hour for 4 hours or several hours. So it's a good opportunity to have face-to-face conversation.
Do we have other questions here before I thank these fine people for bringing us this wonderful idea? And I do hope that we get our kids encouraged to think about designs for their. I know one local school, they're completely remodeling the school up the street, and so it's just under construction for the next 2 years. So there probably won't be too many trees planted until the actual building is finished. But the other school is doing would be closer and someplace that would be fun to encourage the kids to try and come up with a plan. So especially since they put in they've extended the street and taken a whole bunch of trees out that used to be protective of the property. So going in will be something fun for them to think about. Other questions, Kelly and Sheri? We really appreciate your coming today. I know it's Easter weekend for all of you as well. and it's nice that you had the time to share this. And we have one of our biggest factors that we were very happy to see was the inclusion this year in the comprehensive plan for the county of an urban tree canopy policy. And this is very much in support of that particular policy that we championed for a number of years to come about. So we thank you for this effort. It really is the concrete, pedal to the metal kind of thing that we'd like to see. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Joan. And I consider Shelley the mentor of this program, and I don't know if she wants to say anything because she's been supporting it from day one and helping drive it along. And Shelley, do you have any comments you want to add?
No, I appreciate the compliments there, Sheri, but you're the big winner and developer. And Sheri fought for this program. She worked really hard to develop the concept, to get the funding, and she's done a beautiful job. And I love that she's presenting it to folks like you that can help get this out and take advantage of the program.